This was the week where we learned insurrectionists are getting a crash course in the American prisons and prison system, since many of them are awaiting trial inside of them. And it turns out conditions are bad, and they want to speak to the manager of the prison industrial complex, okay? This is from the attorney of a one Nathanael DeGrave, who was a guy that stormed the Capitol, but said that he didn't hurt anyone. All right. He's got a very long letter. I'm just going to read a couple segments from it. This is from his lawyer, and it goes, as a political prisoner in pod C2B, which I immediately read as CB2. And I was like, what? You got CB2 shit up there? That's cool. At the DC dock, otherwise known as DC's Gitmo, the conditions here for January 6ers have been inhumane. In fact, some inmates are even begging to be transferred to Guantanamo Bay, where they have more acceptable standards. I feel like you took the wrong thing away from that Michael Moore doc, but okay. They're like, they've got healthcare. Okay, rusty pipes, dirty water that flows from these sinks. White rags turn brown when exposed to the water from our faucets. And you know how much they hate brown things and people. We're undergoing severe nutritional deficiencies and starvation. For breakfast this morning, I received a tray of flavorless paste, 2 slices of bread, and a slice of bologna. Lunches usually consist of rice and beans, but we'll get cold chicken and beef patties if we're lucky. For dinner, we're sometimes fed a diet of cheese sandwiches and bologna and cheese 4 to 5 times per week. Oh, also, we're forced to undergo humiliating strip searches despite all visitors being thoroughly checked for contraband. Here's on masks, right? Masks need to be covering both the nose and mouth at all times, or we're threatened and locked down in our cells. Jan Sixers are always respectful to the employees around us, but COs maintain the need to invent reasons for discipline.
Yeah, that's
You're just learning this now, honey? That's so sweet.
The January 6th stuff always puts abolitionists in, I think, in a weird spot, of which I would consider myself. I think, at the same time, it's like, yes, this is a classic example of kind of, they're Columbusing the suffering in prisons like this. They discovered it for the first time. This is obviously routine, and it's frustrating for people who try to bring these things up. Well, now you sort of care. So again, suddenly Tucker Carlson cares about FBI informants for the first time ever. Suddenly other people care about the carceral. And one of the risks of January 6th, which we've talked about on our show, and I think it is a legitimate risk, is that it is being exploited by pro-law enforcement FBI forces to kind of launder their brand post George Floyd uprisings. That they are going to use this as a way of showing, look, the FBI, again, 2 weeks before J. Edgar Hoover, 2 weeks after, rather, J. Edgar Hoover sent blackmail to Martin Luther King in 1964. A couple weeks before he won the Nobel Peace Prize, they sent blackmail, anonymous mail, telling him to kill himself. 2 weeks later, he met with MLK and they had a press conference, and he talked about how they were going to fight the KKK. Right. This is the double game the FBI has been doing for years. It is a fundamentally, like all law enforcement agencies, a fundamentally white supremacist institution. And the line between their informants in these groups and their actual participation in the groups is sometimes very blurry. And at one point, as much as 20% of the KKK in the 1960s was full of FBI informants.
Yeah, and also it needs to be said that a lot of, like, I totally agree with you, obviously, that I don't think we need to use this as an excuse to create more informants and more like robust, surveillance agencies. But like, hella law enforcement were part of.
Well, that's the thing too, and
so you're like,
so they have incentive to act like they're both the cause. They need to, again, whitewash their role, because there were so many law enforcement. I think it's at this point scores of example. There are threads, where they show like multiple, Houston, Bexar County, New York. I mean, so many police people were involved, because the police are fundamentally fascist and white supremacist institutions.
Right.
So of course, it's very obvious that they would be heavily involved in a fascist a coup attempt or push or whatever sort of term one wants to use. And then they sort of turn around and say, oh, no, the FBI is somehow not the racist institution. We're going to solve the problem. And I think that fundamentally creates a bit of a problem for liberals, because you want to thread the needle of saying, look, you can't have attempted coups. There has to be accountability. especially, you know, this, because they're going to keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
They're going to keep doing this every 2 years, every 4 years. They're going to deny election results, stir up the masses. And then
sometimes you're going to have to eat bologna. And I do want to go back into this. I do have to go back into the story. I want to get more to this because this guy, Nathan says he's innocent, y'all. His goal was never to, he said he didn't destroy property. He didn't steal anything. Our goal was to make a documentary and get likes and shares. I want to get likes and shares. Now, what does Nathan look like? Who's this guy? Well, there he is. So here he is, Nathanael DeGrave, not prepared for violence at all. Steve, this is the most non-violent like outfit, right? You dress like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reboot.
I love going down this thread. As someone who's been to jail, I was just waiting for one of the tweets to contain something that didn't surprise me, and it never happened until. And I think he must be lying. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or anything, but he says an officer even yelled "Fuck America" and threatened to lock us down for a week we attempted to sing the national anthem.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the noted liberal prison guard union that endorsed Trump more than Trump's wife did.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But this guy's acting like he hasn't even seen Shawshank Redemption. This
right.
is all. There's nothing new about what he's saying. And
they turn over my room whenever they want to. We've seen that. They missed the poster, motherfuckers.
Now, so yeah, I mean, I'm reading it and I'm like, yeah, this is terrible. Prisons should not be like this. They shouldn't exist like this. But also, I guess the fact that he's flabbergasted is laugh out loud funny. And then he lied about that. I would love to hear a cop say "fuck America." I would pay real money to hear a cop say that.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely didn't happen. And wait, I have to show you because yes, we should feel sort of sad for these conditions, but of course, I'm gonna go with the nonviolent drug offender over an insurrectionist who most definitely did violence on 1/6. So this is him all clad. He's going after one of the security guards. He doesn't actually look like a Capitol police officer, just a security guard, maybe in an office. He's throwing punches. He's pushing.
You can't do that, buddy. Yeah.
And we have let's see. Here we have a video actually filmed by a homie of his where he's openly admitting that he punched people. So here we go.
I punched this guy like 5 times in the fucking head. I punched this guy 5 times in the fucking head. Shit. Yeah. You can't even see my face. Let's go. This is our house.
So there he is, telling his friend twice, which is such a funny fucking dork move when like your friend didn't give you enough accolades when you like for punching a guy 5 times in the face. You have to say it again and be like, hey, I punch a guy 5 times. So that's him. That's Nathanael DeGrave telling his friend who's got a body camera on that he punched a dude. Like, I'm just saying, white privilege is so magical, you guys. Like, if you think you can live stream yourself breaking into the U.S. Capitol and punching a police officer and thinking you deserve like paste with flavor after that, that's just more like you just. I need some of that. I need some of that confidence, honestly.
I wonder if that paste with flavor thing, if the paste is real either. I've been to jail, so I know bologna sandwiches just for traffic stuff, guys. Nothing big. Just those years when I was toiling away at TGI Fridays in West Covina and not paying tickets. But I've been to jail.
How long did you have to stay there for?
I got processed in. It took 18 hours. That's the worst part, where they move you from room to room. They strip search you. You have to sit next to like very bad people. And it was awful and it was gross. But once I got to my bed, I got out like a few hours later. But the bologna and cheese sandwiches, those are real. They come in bags of liquid. It's disgusting. But I don't know what this paste could be.
Yeah, I don't know what that paste is either. I have also had bologna sandwiches in not prison, but like a jail for being arrested during the Iraq War, and then at the RNC, the Iraq War lead up, and then during the RNC. And I remember those, and they're gross as shit. They're bad.
So nothing like traffic tickets after working at TGI Fridays, right?
I had
Okay.
I had drunken vandalism. Mine is so not sexy. Because Sarah's like, I've been arrested a couple times for protesting, and I'm like, I was not doing that. Although I was,
Sarah is
what'd you
Adam's
do?
partner,
What'd
by the way. I love that Sarah's a presence on the show.
I did
Shout out to her.
I did do overnight. At the same time that Dominic Strauss-Kahn was in the same, and it was in Manhattan County Jail. So that was a cool story. Although he wasn't in the same, he was set by himself, but we were in there together. We did hard time for one night. But no, you know, it's again, it's always sort of tough. There's a really good report written by Nicole Wynn, who's a professor at University of Illinois Chicago. It's called "Why Treating White Supremacy as Domestic Terrorism Won't Work and How Not to Fall for It: A Toolkit for Social Justice." I think it's actually, if you get a chance to check it out. Sort of how do you kind of thread the needle of talking about the threat of white supremacist violence, which of course January 6th was. Like, it was a fascist mob and of the kind of worst kind, without helping boost or further fund, because again, the response to January 6th has been more federal money for Capitol Police, for the FBI, et cetera, without necessarily emboldening these same forces. Because like, sort of no matter what happens, the FBI and police departments get more money. The Capitol Police were letting people in literally on camera, and then they turn around and get, you know, $20 million more because supposedly it was a failure of money.
It's almost like we need to defund the police, motherfuckers.
But yet, no matter what happens, again, and I think that this is in many ways can become an anti-defund argument, that the problem is not that the rank and file and our police departments and the police union leadership are a bunch of, you know, fascist crybabies. It's actually that we need more money to like have anti-bias training. And of course, the money just goes to hiring more police officers.
Exactly.
So,
but that's the point though, is like, how can you award more money to these institutions when they have made no commitment to actually rooting out white supremacists in their midst, right? If they've not let alone any kind of commitment to real reform or accountability when it comes to their violence, right? So what are we doing here? So yes, of course, it's always used to prop up kind of the exact same evil that led to this in the first place. Yeah,
because the instinct is to want to sort of expand terrorism discourse, right? To say, okay, it's important we call these people terrorists. And I think, so, you know, it's important that we give them really harsh prison sentences. And it's like, look, of the top 10,000 people in jail that are going to make my heart bleed, these people aren't going to crack that. They're not going to crack the top 100,000, right? At the same time, you want to sort of, at the same time, it's like, do we really want to expand this kind of carceral logic, this anti-terrorism logic? And it's so tempting to do because if we're going to have this fucked up system, it may as well be slightly more equitable. But, you know, putting X% more people in jail is not going to take anyone out of it. And so I don't know. It's been interesting to watch the discourse, you know, threading that needle. And then, of course, you know, your sort of typical kind of CNN, FBI, CIA, and then MSNBC has all these people too, kind of laundered through. Their instinct is to always say, "Oh yeah, we need more law enforcement, more infiltration, more FBI money." And it's like, well, yeah, because that's always the answer for every problem we have. Again, never mind that the rank and file are extremely right wing, as indicated by the fact that they're having mass petulant walkouts and protest over something as simple as a vaccine mandate. They won't do a mask mandate at all. NYPD doesn't give a fuck, right? They don't care. Yeah. And so, you know, asking why there's all these white supremacists in police is like asking why there's no vegan food at a barbecue restaurant. It's the thing they do. Yeah, 100%. And by the way, Gitmo isn't much better, guys. I just want to say, sorry. Like I don't know if you've heard about Guantanamo, but it's actually like really bad. Like they do like real torture there. And but if you want to go, I mean, be my guest. Look, you could write about it. You could, you know, I don't know, be the one white guy in Gitmo, sell a Lifetime film. Fuck, I don't know. But like, let's talk about, I mean, just briefly, there's a guy that just came out recently who was in Gitmo, who has been speaking, and we've heard firsthand now for the first time. This is a guy named Majid Khan, who's said that he was suspended naked from a ceiling beam for long periods of time, doused repeatedly with ice water to keep him awake for days, had his head held underwater to the point of near drowning, only to have water poured into his nose and mouth when the interrogators let him up. He was beaten, given forced enemas, sexually assaulted, and starved in overseas prisons whose locations were not disclosed. You want that, buddy? Do you want that? No, I mean, this is a classic example of the adage that right-wing paranoia is about worrying about a future where white people are subjected to the things we're already doing to people of color. So like you see Alex Jones talking about FEMA camps, and it's like, yes, they're called internment camps at the border. You talk about jackbooted thugs breaking into your house. Like, yes, it's called most black people's interactions with the police. And so now you see the scenario where it's like, you have Tucker Carlson doing a whole special about how, there's a new war on terror. It's like, buddy, the war on terror never stopped. This is the same war on terror. There are 15,000 FBI informants. They largely entrap mentally unwell Muslims, typically between the ages of 18 and 25. Like this is not new, and it doesn't really disproportionately target Cletus, although it can, and that maybe has its own problems. The amount of FBI informants at the Bundy Ranch, for example, kind of shows how this can be a little problematic. But this is not something that is of new. It is not an increased federal power. It's just they're kind of picking off a few more white people to help their public relations in the wake of George Floyd.
For sure. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do it.